creativity should be completely intertwined with like communion of friendship, you know, and doing stuff with people you want to do stuff with. I've sort of discovered in my 40s that these were guys that seemed a lot like me, that had the same sense of humor, that they didn't have to leave their sense of humor at the doorstep. I'm not a revolutionary. I don't want to burn down the whole system necessarily, but definitely poke it with a hot stick. I'm not gonna go down in history. Only my family will remember me. I think it's all going in that direction, the music. I've waited for the past 10 years. I've been testing the waters and talking about things that are a little more personal and a little more private, and getting more comfortable doing that. And so half this record is definitely that, and I think the other half of the songs are a little less. They're a little more storytelling experiments or storytelling exercises. But the stories I'm telling in those songs are very much connected to my own anxieties and fears and existential dread. Yeah.
Do you have that a lot, or do you think it just makes for good storytelling?
I think it feels very relevant. The subject of there's songs that deal with kind of this post-apocalyptic hellscape world and people suffering, and it all sounds like a lot of fun, I know, but yeah, I think I'm a fan of those kinds of TV shows and movies. I don't see it a lot in rock music, or pop music, but it is fertile material for me to think about. I think about like the Talking Heads song "Life During Wartime," and then their other song "Nothing But Flowers," which is like the opposite of that song a little bit, as good topics or good songs that get into that topic. But it's also something, I read the news, I follow world events. We're all feeling that, like, what the f is happening? What is going to happen? And what am I going to do if something terrible happens, So it's definitely something on my mind post-pandemic, in the age of Trump, it's like with North Korea, whatever it is, there's a million things to think about as you're trying to go to sleep at night. For sure. I mean, it almost feels like impossible to imagine what life will be like for them at my age, but maybe things will be great. Maybe things will be better. So we'll probably most likely figure it out. But they have influenced me so much in other ways. There's other songs in the record that deal more without the apocalyptic existential dread and deal with my relationship with my kids and how much they are the center of my life, and so I play the, I like records that can be dark and existential and then tender and vulnerable, and so you have the rock songs and the sad songs, like the mixed bag. So I'm aware that I generally like to think about it as when it's working, it's really fun to do. It's really fun. I think with this record, it goes back to my last record where, the natural thing to do when you put a record out is to tour and play your songs live. Everyone does it, right? And so that meant for me putting a band together and through that process, finding this group of people, Eliana and Josh and Connor and Vic, and touring with them, living with them for a month or two, fueled me to want to make music with them. it was specifically with them. And every night it was like, this is really working. Like there was a chemistry between us. There was humor and shared interests and friendship. And so that it all comes from a place of like the spirit of creativity should be completely intertwined with like communion of friendship, and doing stuff with people you want to do stuff with. And so songs come kind of however they come. They come through, playing around on a guitar or a piano or a phrase or a word. And as those songs pile up, it's like it kind of goes in the same direction of, I want to do more with these people. Or if it's on cinema or office hours, like I want to do more things with these people,
Yeah.
And whatever that is, it will be either good or bad or connect with an audience or not connect with an audience. That's kind of like secondary. It takes a little work, and you've got to, I think as I self-examine myself occasionally, I'm like, I'm pretty good at maintaining those relationships, for long periods of time, and not everybody is, you have to figure out when people are around and when they can do stuff. But I think everybody I work with would say the same about me, that it's a fun thing to do together. Yeah, back then, I think in high school we gave it our best effort, and then in college, through meeting Eric, he was also in bands, and we played together a little bit. I had a sort of a Tenacious D style joke band called the Tim Heidecker Masterpiece. We gave that a go. Like a lot of things were like, I didn't put everything into all these things. They were kind of like playing on the weekends, and nothing really clicked to a point where it took off. And the Tim and Eric shorts that we were making was the first thing that caught anybody's attention and was the thing that pulled me out here. And pulled me out here is a terrible way of saying it, but opened and Bob Odenkirk saw our stuff and gave it his his seal of approval, and then it was like, and Eric too actually was like, he was kind of doing a lot of different things, music and photography and the comedy that we were doing together, but as soon as you get that one little, outside of your zone bit of encouragement, it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. I was always able to make music within Tim and Eric. I was through Davin Wood, who did most of the music for all that stuff. We were always collaborating. Eric and I would always be writing songs for the show. I was always able to use music, and at the same time, I would write songs occasionally, but I didn't really have anything to say. I was so focused on writing comedy and building what we were building that when I wasn't doing that, I was sleeping or, trying to be normal and trying to watch The Sopranos or whatever. So it wasn't really until, that stuff had sort of kind of calmed down a little bit, and I was 40 and I had gotten married. I had my daughter, Amelia, that I was like also kind of reconnecting with the music of singer-songwriter generation of Randy Newman and Warren Zevon, and I was like, I knew all that stuff from the radio, but never really went deep, and I sort of discovered in my 40s that these were guys that seemed a lot like me, that had the same sense of humor, that they didn't have to leave their sense of humor at the doorstep, they could incorporate it into real songs. They weren't parody songs. They weren't, they were coming from them. But so that gave me this little like spark of inspiration to like, oh, maybe I could write about myself, and I can be I could be sincere, which is kind of interesting because I've never done that before, and but also not be super serious. I didn't have to treat myself like Michael Stipe or somebody,
Sure.
you know. Which God bless Michael Stipe. I love Michael Stipe,
Right.
but I could, you know, Steely Dan or Randy Newman or all these guys are funny. You know, I think that helped me become a songwriter in a more serious sense. There's people that go, I don't get it, or
Yeah.
you know, is this am I the butt of the joke, or is your, you know, and that's just going to always be that. But
Sure.
you know, by touring and letting people in with my stand-up character, which, you know, I think is more popular than some, you know, there's degrees of that, but putting ourselves out there as a really good band, with the music's legit, it's a fun time. You're at one of the shows, you know, it's like you gotta. It's undeniable that I'm not doing this as a joke.
Yeah.
That it's not just like, ha ha, you thought I was serious. It's not. That's not the point of it. And so now I have like fans of the music, you know, and they're just like, oh, this is kind of cool. I love your comedy, but your music actually hits me in a different way. It's the last record I did, high school. I found like a lot of guys my age or in their 40s. Who had similar experiences or at a similar place in life. And that's something I never really got from the comedy stuff we did, was this feeling of like, you know, that connected with me, and it made me, I related to those experiences. There's no way to relate to any of the experiences in the Tim and Eric stuff. You know, those are like, that's not what we're doing that for. It's not meant to be that. So it's nice to hear that they're like, man, I'm feeling the same way, you know, about life or about where I'm at. So
Part 2?
no. I you know, that, of course, it was those songs were coming sort of spontaneously in the moment, and the news, as the news was exploding. Now it's so. He's so boring. He's so. It's sad. I mean, he might win. Who knows? But it's so. It's kind of a beating up on an old dog. You know, he's sad and boring and losing it. You know, and frankly, he's lost it a long time ago. In a lot of ways. You know, I can't do a Trump impression, but I can get into the.
When you're.
I talk that way in emails now. It has changed everybody's way of speaking.
Are you really?
We had a friend, we were preparing, somebody had to bail out of something we were doing for very good reasons. And my tour manager said, I had a feeling, right? In the reply, in a very nice way, like, I had a feeling. And I wrote back, I had a feeling, and frankly, I had that feeling a lot sooner than he did. You know, like, I'm typing this just because it's fun to talk that way.
That was a pretty good impression.
In a lot of ways, you know, I'm no James Austin Johnson, but it's just that, you know, and look, this interview is going very well, but frankly, it could be going a lot better, you know. But anyways,
read into that.
No, I don't know. But no, that's out there. I've said my piece on that. I will continue to goof on him, but like, that's a closed chapter in my life. Jaded? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a realist a little bit. I realize, like, there's no knight in shining armor coming over the hill to make everything the way we all want it to be, that it's a complicated, messy world. There's degrees and variances of, like, what could be a little better, you know, and so I'm no, like, I'm not somebody that's, like, I don't have a purity test for anything. It's like, listen, it is what this is the system. It would be great if it was better. We can do, you know, I would say, like, get involved in local politics, try to make local change, try to be a good person. And so, yeah, it's very easy to go online, again, back to online. It's like very easy to go online and say things like, you know, how could you support the Democratic Party because they're funding the genocide in Gaza? And I understand all that and want that to all be better and fixed. And there are things we can do to make that better. At the same time, I'm going to vote for the person that's better than the other person, even though I disagree with. I can be vocally, you know, I can be vocally against a lot of the policies of the one party, and still vote for them. You know, you don't have to. You're not voting for the person you're going to live with for the next 50 years. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm very my politics are very left wing and progressive, but. Yeah, I'm not a revolutionary. I don't want to burn down the whole system necessarily, but definitely poke it with a hot stick. Yeah, I censor myself all the time. You know, I mean, and self-censor myself. Like, I could say this, but what's the point? Or what? That's just going to, you know, I'm not super eloquent about it all the time, and. So I do my own self-censoring, and sometimes I don't want to get into it, or you know, or I don't feel educated enough on the issue to talk about it. So, but I've never reached that level of fame. There's no fame I've gotten to. No, and no one's ever told me to stay quiet about something. But the best thing is when people say that I'm some kind of shill or I'm paid by some group or I'm some sort of like that. That's mental, you know, because it's like I'm just pretty much where I'm at from college, you know, like I'm sort of, that's my outlook on the world. I believe in climate change and, you know, pro-choice and that, you know, tax the rich, like just basic common sense policies about how to structure civilization. We've got good fans, like the specifically with On Cinema, the people that run the Marvel world seem to be very.
Is that so? That's how you guys all got in, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is. I guess it's fair to say, like Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
He's like, they know all the lore of the show. They talk about it. That's why we're both in Ant-Man, you know, because they think it will create drama on our show. So that's probably the highest level of like, and I'll be honest, I don't follow their world as much as they follow my world. I don't know all those movies. I don't keep up with them. There's a lot of them. TV shows and movies and superheroes going all around the universe. Once they leave Earth, I can't really get involved. I don't like. I'll watch Star Trek. I like Star Trek because
2001.
I love 2001. I love Interstellar. I like really like Interstellar, cerebral sci. Yeah. But when they start flying around the galaxies and stuff, or even multiverses, I can't. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
I get that.
I like Superman.
Okay.
And I like Batman.
Okay.
And then I'm out after that. Those two guys, great Supermen.
Do you have
Great
a favorite
superheroes.
Batman?
Oh, the Christopher Nolan Batmans.
Okay.
I watch those. I'll watch them as many times as you want me to.